Lying is one of the greatest sins in Islam. Text and the Corpus Juris are quite explicit about this. Evils of lying are more dreadful than the evils of adultery. In one of the Hadith, lying is equated with committing adultery with one's own mother. Only they forge the lie who do not believe in Allah's communications, and these are the liars. Q. 16-105. Surely Allah does not guide him aright who is a liar, ungrateful. Q. 39-3. A liar also invokes the curse of Allah, SWT. And pray for the curse of Allah on the liars. Q. 361. The curse of Allah be on him if he is one of the liars. Q. 24-8. Hadith. When a believer speaks a lie, he becomes prone to committing every other sin, and when this happens, he commits kufr, disbelief, which then makes him liable to enter hell. Toriya, dissimulation. It means to say something, which could be interpreted in more than one way. One of the meanings should be the truth while the other ambiguous. Example, if a tyrant comes to one's place seeking him out but he wants to remain in the safety of his home, a person from his family may answer the door and say, "He is not here," with the intention that he is not at the door. Toriya, dissimulation. It is a dissimulation which is permissible and legitimate, when spoken in defense of oneself from cruelty or persecution, would not fall within the definition of a lie. Same would justify the three dissimulations uttered by Prophet Abraham, pbuh. 1. Declaring that he is not feeling well or is indisposed. 2. Not acknowledging the amputation of the arm of the big idol in Kaaba and pointing instead to the big idol. 3. Declaring his wife as his sister to protect against the evil intention of the king. Also, a statement in the nature of an assumption and a supposition which is contrary to facts is not a lie. It is a metaphoric attribution/assumption which does not belie an established fact. Example, Prophet saying, "If the Rahman, God, has a son I would be the first one to serve him." Q. 4381. Hiyal, PL, is the avoidance of observing the Islamic law in extremely difficult situations while still obeying the letter of the law. Note, in Sunni schools it is still controversial while in Shia school by 15th century it was fully acceptable, by the force of fatwa issued by Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, banning its criticism. Hanafites accepted it, Malikites still consider it illegal. There is however a growing debate about the purpose of Sharia, its increased interpretational flexibility, in view of the problems/issues faced, due to modernity and concrete thinking, hence revival/increased employment of hila as a legitimate tool. Sharia-based Islamic finance industry is making greater use of it in developing riba interest-free products. Imam Bukhari, following the transmission-based juris, differed with Hanafites on the use of legal device hila with vehemence. He condemned the use of hiyal on the basis of hadith. All deeds are judged by their intentions in tandem with Imam Hanbal and Ibn al-Mubarak, who also vehemently rejected the use of hiyal. He also disagreed with Hanafites' well-known laxity in defining, by employing the device of hila an intoxicant, wine, as grape juice. Allah's planning, use of hila, when we revealed to your mother what was to be revealed, Q 20:38, Pharaoh having been told that someone born in Bani Israel would ruin/kill you, ordered the killing of all male children. Allah told the mother of Moses to put Moses in a basket and cast him into the river and not to entertain any apprehension about his safety. He will be picked up by the one who is his and my enemy. Your sister working for Pharaoh's family would guide him to you, Moses' mother, as a sulking nurse, whereby she, Moses' mother, will not be grieved. Q. 20:38-39. Tentative conclusion of Hiyal doctrine. Hiyal, SG. Hila, are legal devices or tools used in achieving certain objectives, lawful or not, through lawful means. Although it is generally agreed that hiyal are not a subterfuge for the evasion of the law, their exact nature and place within Islamic jurisprudence, however, remains an open question. To date, there have been only a few studies devoted to this doctrine, and these have focused almost exclusively upon the Hanafites, who developed hiyal into a special branch of the law, called makharij, i.e. exits. Examined here is the doctrine of the Hanafite together with that of the Malikite/Medinite jurists, who were early witnesses for and against hiyal, as conceived by the Hanafites. On the basis of their understanding of the law in terms of utility, Hanafites employed makharij, exits, to provide remedies for those who sought them. As a particular transmission of Hanafite doctrine, the genre of makharij sought to confirm the standard doctrine by discovering exits suggested therein. Hanafites' concern for the subject was shared by the Malikites, albeit from a different point of view. Malikites discussed hiyal as jurisprudential materials that convey the validity of their doctrine, prescribing appropriate solutions. Thus, it is concluded that both the Hanafites and Malikites regarded hiyal as solutions drawn from the materials of jurisprudence in accordance with the spirit of the law as interpreted by the jurists of their respective schools. Taqiyya. Dissembling, it is termed as an outright lie in the Sunni school of thought. In Shia school, however, it is considered, based on the word, itika, prudence, precaution or fear. A precautionary denial of the faith or its practices in the face of persecution. Kitman, covering, by silence or omission. Among the 12 Shias it is politically legitimized to maintain unity among the Muslims in general and fraternity among the Shia clerics in particular. Taqiyya was developed by Imam Jafar al-Sadiq to protect against the oppression of Abbasid Caliph, al-Mansur, who was a Sunni Muslim. Also, that esoterically, the ilm knowledge given to Shia Imam has to be hidden from the uninitiated and adversaries until the descending of their 12th Imam. Taqiyya, this term is often used against Islam and Muslims indiscriminately by the Islamophobes and anti-Islam polemicists. Its authority is said to have been derived from the Quranic verse 328, although there is not the slightest indication of permission for lying or deceiving, except for exoteric stopgap accommodation of the non-believers in the face of extreme adversity. Believers should not take disbelievers, where the interest of the deniers of the truth clashes with that of the believers, as guardians instead of the believers, and whosoever does so will have nothing to hope for from Allah, SWT, unless it is a precaution against their tyranny. Where there is a reason to fear from them something, which ought to be guarded against, for they are more powerful than the Muslims, and Allah warns you about Himself. And to Allah is the final return, Q. 328. Scientific dimension of divine injunction with respect to lying, deception, and planning. Surah Al-Alaq number 96 verse 15 and 16 exhibits how scientifically structured are Islamic injunctions, as shown here, with respect to lying, deceiving and planning. No. If he does not desist, we will surely smite his forehead, 96:15. A lying sinning forehead, 96:16. And shun the false speech, Q. 22:30. Lying and deception are generated in the frontal lobe/cortex of the forehead, also known as the voice of reason. We will certainly smite his forehead, Nasiya is the forehead. Obvious questions would be: why did the Quran describe the front of the head as being lying and sinful? Why didn't the Quran say that the person was lying and sinful? What is the relationship between the front of the head and lying and sinfulness? If we look into the skull at the front of the head, we will find that the prefrontal area of the cerebrum, left side of the figure, is what does the physiology tells us about the function of this area? A book entitled Essentials of Anatomy and Physiology explains about this area that the motivation and the foresight to plan and initiate movements occur in the anterior portion of the frontal lobes, the prefrontal area. This is a region of association cortex. The book also explains, in relation to its involvement in motivation, the prefrontal area is also thought to be the functional center for aggression. So, this area of the cerebrum is responsible for planning, motivating, and initiating good and sinful behavior and is responsible for the telling of lies and the speaking of truth. Thus, it is befittingly described in the Holy Quran, that it is the front of the head lying and sinful when someone lies or commits a sin. A lying, sinful nasaya, front of the head. Save, Rohingya, Fur, Palestinian and Kashmiri Muslim from state-sponsored genocide. Reclaim Africa, a Muslim continent. Use and share this slogan as often as possible. Shakir2.wordpress.com